So after 40 days of wearing the iron blocks in the dry August Tuscan countryside, it's time to remove the shoes, especially because the feet have grown quite a bit. And this video will show you some details and different techniques to remove them. So we saw the fronts and the right hind, which I remind you is the only one which has the dorsal cuff part, where the fly is to be seen. So here's the details of the left fore. You can see the glue held on quite well. One of the methods to remove them is to use a hoof knife, a towing knife, and gently introduce it between the lateral and the medial cuff and the hoof wall without damaging the hoof wall, and loosen the top part of the cuff. This is on the medial side, so that you can introduce a pair of pliers, to tear this part loose from the wall. You can see it's quite tough. So I'm using my towing knife and a semi-sharp towing knife. So now he goes onto the foot stand, and I try to grab the top part of the cuff and peel it off without damaging the wall. Once in a while you have to go back and help yourself with the towing knife. And you want to hit the glue and not the wall, of course. Just so that you get enough hold for the pliers to get into there. You can use a shoe puller. I wouldn't use anything sharper than that. See, the medial cuff is coming loose. So now we go to the lateral one. And the same, you can see how tough the material is and how elastic it is. And I think I'm amazed how much in full summer and this dry summer we have here in Tuscany, these feet grew with these flexible shoes. So that might be one of the advantages of keeping them on these flexible shoes. It'll be shown later. So a little bit of loosening with a towing knife again. And we get a good hold of the last bit of cuff. This is the left fore, and when I applied them, I decided on taking the dorsal cuff away so that I could set the shoe back a bit relative to the hoof. You can see the wear on these shoes. It's pretty irregular. It has rolled its own toe. And now you can see the dry and tough conditions in Tuscany in the summer. I'm very respectful of the sole, but we need to find the sole plane, and I have to use a towing knife and a very good hoof knife. Again, even the frogs I'm very respectful of them. This horse is gonna stay barefoot after this for a while. So I'm very respectful also of the frog, but even for this little bit of frog trimming, I need a towing knife. And here you can see how much hoof growth there was in 40 days. I think this is more than I usually get with this horse, which I've known for 15 years, with traditional shoes. You can see it again. It was certainly half an inch at least. So you're usually finishing off, backing up the heels, rounding off the outside border so that it isn't sharp and won't break off in little pieces. Finally, you clean up the outer hoof wall. I'm very respectful of the periopal, so I never go any further than absolutely necessary. So I just try to clean the glue the rest of the glue off the wall, and that's about it. Again, a nice roundup of the distal border. And here you can compare the left four, where the iron block has been removed, with the right four, and the relative lengths after removing and trimming, and with the long hoof and the shoe still on it, of the right four. So to show you the other technique of removing the iron blocks, we'll go to the right hind. The right hind 40 days ago was shot with the dorsal part of the cuff. So it is a little different. And again, I just make a little bit of place. There is a thick double sole there, which has grown in this period. So I just trim the bottom part of the iron block with my nippers. These are my Lubex nippers. I'm not afraid to damage them. They're pretty tough. But I cut through the outer cuff on the line between where it joins the bottom of the shoe, as if it would be wool. It's a very tough material, as you can see. It has to be. There is a galloping horse on it, and it has to hold out. So here's a little loosening of. There was a little loosening of the inside cuff after 40 days. I cut this through, and then I peel off the rest of the cuff. Here you can see that, of course, the wear on the shoe will reflect the conformation of the horse and the way he walks. There is definitely, like in many horses, a bit more outside wear on this particular right hind hoof. And you can see in the relative thickness, but that's also true when he is barefoot, of course. So there will be a little bit more trimming on the inside. So you peel off the cuff, again by grabbing it with a pair of pliers or with a puller. And remember, this one was glued also in the toe area, and there was made a little bit of space for the cuff there. So you can see the tough material. And then we go on, after removing the last bit of cuff, into trimming. We speeded it up a little bit so as not to bore you. Again, the use of the towing knife is necessary for this dry climate in the summer. And I go for a uniform sole depth, like Mike Savoldi taught us. I can even design my line where I want to cut. You could see that there's a little bit more to be trimmed on the inside. This is always the case with this particular horse. And it was always so reflected in the wear of the shoe. If you're going to use a battery-powered disc grinder, in this case with a Fiat discs, make sure that you have an assistant holding the tail when you work on the hind feet. It is very dangerous to get the tail wrapped up in the working machine in the disc grinder. Otherwise, it's a great tool. You can see here that Dominic is holding the tail. Here you can see how the inside of the hoofs have little bumps and little holes which make the interface with the glue better. And you can see that on the glue rests on the wall. So we clean it up again. We're still working on I'm still working on the right hind foot. And the second one we show you on this video. Just clean up the bare necessary. Oh, just the glue, the remains of the glue, round off the foot, and it's ready to be barefoot. Or you clean it up, you clean the wall a bit more thoroughly, and you're ready for your new reset, or another reset, but for a new shoeing, whether it be traditional or with iron blocks. So in this case, the horse remained barefoot after that. It was more for the demonstration. And he's put away in the stall. A couple of final details I want to show you is the remains and the amount of hoof growth there was, and also some security aspects of some safety aspects of the iron blocks. So here we see the remains where the flies are running loose on, the remains of the hoof and the amount of hoof fall. And this is a safety feature of glue-on shoes in general, but on these in particular. If you have an accidental shoe loss, it's of course much less dangerous when they step on that half-loose shoe than if they do that on a traditional shoe, which might have a clip or a upright nail in which they can put their foot.